Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Murdersota TV. Today we're delving deep into a chilling chapter of history, recounting the life and crimes of Sam Christian and the notorious Philly Black Mafia. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's dive into the gripping tale of terror, violence, and power. You may have seen Sam Christian portrayed by Method Man on The Godfather of Harlem. So now Samuel Richard Christian was born March 20th, 1939, in Philadelphia. He grew up to be a 5'10", 185-pound bullneck bully. He began getting pinched by the cops at the tender age of 14. He was arrested numerous times for shooting craps, and by the time he was 20, he already had an extensive rap sheet. He was pinched for everything from robbery to aggravated assault and for carrying a concealed weapon. In October 1964, Samuel and two accomplices decided to stick up a card game. The trio busted into the room wearing stockings on their faces to conceal their identities. When one of the victims reached the protective pot, Sam shot him in the belly. During the robbery, Sam's mask slipped off, allowing three of the card players to get a good look at his face. He was arrested but was released because no one would testify against him. This would be a theme throughout his criminal career. See, Sam Christian had built a big reputation as a man not to be with. Like most predatory gangsters, stick-up men or extortionists, fear was his biggest weapon. Sam and his crew would commit the most vicious crimes, and the word would get around. It made it easier to convince the next victim that it was in their best interest to work with them, and not against them. Get down or lay down. These guys did things not even Murder Incorporated or Roy DeMeo and his crew did. Not to say that they weren't capable of doing these things, but they never killed entire families, women, children, infants. All right, none of that stuff. Sam Christian and the Black Mafia were capable of doing those things, and everyone knew it. In his mid-20s, Sam became a member of the Nation of Islam and joined Temple No. 12 in Philadelphia. He took the name Suleiman Bey. In 1967, Sam Christian started some kind of ruckus at a voting registration drive at 18th and Columbia Avenue, present-day Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Sam got into a fight with a few men. Realizing he was outnumbered, he left to go get something to even the odds. He returned with a .38, and shots rang out. Christian fired 4 times into the crowd, wounding one man in the hip and sending dozens of people running for cover. Then Sam stood in the street defiantly, holding his pistol over his head until the cops showed up, and he was taken into custody. Again he walked, because no one would testify. It was somewhere around this time when Sam and two of his pals, Roosevelt Spooks Fitzgerald and Walter Hudgens, created what would be known as the Black Mafia, with Sam as their leader. Like I said, I'm going to do a whole Philly Black Mafia episode, so I'm going to skim over a lot of stuff with them, but I'll get back into that. But you can't talk about Sam Christian without talking about Ron Harvey. Right, Ron Harvey was a violent man, to say the least. He was 5'11", 200 pounds of mean. He was violent and a religious fanatic. These two seemed to feed off each other and were once arrested together for beating a cop. The sight of Sam Christian and Ron Harvey walking into an establishment caused many bad guys to change their underwear. Once the pair entered a joint where a craps game was being held, and the men fell over themselves to give up the pot, saying, "Here, just take it." The duo assured everyone that they were just there to hang out and shoot some craps. By the late 60s, Sam was known as a hired gun. He would make collections for a price. Say you were an illegal business owner and someone owed you money. Call Sam. He'll take care of it for a fee. The Black Mafia's main source of income was extortion and robbery. And on Labor Day, September 7th, 1971, Sam and two other Black Mafia members, Russell Meade and Spooks Fitzgerald, walked into a Delphia bar in Atlantic City. They approached the bartender and asked her for the combination to the safe. When she said she didn't have it, the three gangsters pulled guns and demanded everyone get on the floor. They tied up 21 patrons with rope and tape and waited for the manager to return. It was several hours before he returned, and when he did, he too said he didn't have the combination, and he was instantly pistol-whipped. They took what was in the till and robbed the customers of their jewels and cash, making away with $14,360. They fired several shots to signal and took off in 2 cars. One car got away, but the other was pursued by cops. After a 125-mile-an-hour chase on the Atlantic City Expressway, the car crashed and overturned after passing the Egg Harbor Toll Plaza. Fitzgerald and Meade were arrested, but Sam and others got away. A month later, Sam was back at it. Him and now out on bail. Russell Meade and another member named Lester Pointer, along with 3 women, rushed into the Charles & Charles record store in Harlem, guns drawn. When the manager refused to hand over the money, some of the group went outside and kidnapped a passerby. They brought him into the store and told the manager they would kill him if he didn't give up the cash. He went to the safe and got them $5,000. They were bold, and it cost them. Another passerby saw what was going on and told the cops. No sooner had the owner handed over the money that the cops busted in. Lester Pointer grabbed the order and tried to use him as a hostage, but the cop shot him dead. Sam and the others took off onto the roof of a loft as a cop pursued. Sam shot him with a .357 Magnum in the shoulder. More police arrived, which resulted in a gun battle in tight quarters. Sam and the cops fired from as little as 6 feet away from each other. During the gunfight, Sam was hit in the shoulder. Him and Meade were arrested, while the 3 women got away. Sam used the alias Richard Carter of Brooklyn and eventually jumped bail. Even though he was cordial and had many dealings with the leaders of the Black Mafia, he was not one of them. In 1971, Fat Ty was sentenced to prison for 2 to 7 years, but was released pending appeal. Ty's right-hand man was a guy named James Pee Wee Smith, that Ty sent Pee Wee to Atlanta to bring back a shipment of cocaine. When he came back, Pee Wee took $240,000 worth on consignment. Then things went south when a dealer who worked for Pee Wee named Richard Red Paul Harris stepped on Ty's coat. Red Paul was later shot to death while he drank at a bar by Sam Christian. But that was still out of his $250,000 grand, and he put out a $15,000 contract for Pee Wee. On March 2nd, Pee Wee Smith was found with 2 bullet holes in his head in a parking lot in North Philadelphia. After the Pee Wee murder, Fat Ty took a trip to Bermuda and got back exactly 1 month after the death of Pee Wee. It was Easter Sunday, and Fat Ty was going to check out the Easter Panorama Show at Atlantic City's famous Club Harlem. 600 to 800 people came to see the headliner, Billy Paul. Ty showed up with an entourage of 20 women and his bodyguards. They had a table right next to the stage. They were drinking, laughing, and having a good time when Billy Paul hit the stage. But unbeknownst to Ty, 5 other men were at Club Harlem that night, watching him, and they weren't messing around. Around 2 a.m., Billy Paul took the stage and opened with his rendition of Magic Carpet. Before the song was over, the 5 men approached Ty's table, led by Sam Christian. Sam asked to speak to Ty while one of his guys named Larry Stark started an argument with Fat Ty's bodyguard. Before he could get out of his seat, shots rang out. Sam Christian shot Ty in the face, then reached over and shot him twice more. When Ty's bodyguard went to reach for his gun, and was shot twice in the back of the head and fell into his girlfriend's lap. Then a gunfight broke out as the rest of the bodyguards began to shoot back at the Black Mafia members. As many as 6 gunmen exchanged fire as the band and patrons scattered and ran for their lives. The Black Mafia members fought their way through the mayhem and raised their guns in the air and fired at least 1 shot at a responding officer. Sam Christian went to a bar across the street, while the others headed back to Philly but were apprehended after a high-speed chase. Larry Starks remained on the scene. He was shot 5 times in the back and thigh. He would recover. The same can't be said for Fat Ty, his bodyguard Gilbert Satterwhite, and 3 women who came with him. More than 20 people were wounded in the chaos. The reasons for the murder vary depending on the source. One says that Pee Wee was close to the Black Mafia members and was even a brother of one of the members. The other is that Sam and his boys had put up money for the coke deal and were out too. I guess Ty going away for a month didn't help either. Sam fled to Chicago and Detroit, hiding in the network of Nation of Islam mosques. After the murder of Fat T, a man named Major Coxon became Frank Matthews' man in Philly. Major Coxon was a major character. He was a salesman, businessman, investor, entrepreneur, hustler, and political candidate. He was a character. He bragged about winning the election for school president when he was in high school with 2,700 votes. The thing is, only 2,200 students attended his high school. Major said that he could sell ice to an Eskimo, fire to the devil, and sand to an Arab. He was older than the Black Mafia members. He was born in 1928 and got his first pitch in 1949 for fraud and did 22 months in Lewisburg. By 1970, he had racked up 17 arrests in Philly for theft and related offenses, including check scams and a car theft ring. He also befriended Muhammad Ali when the former champ was living in the Philly area during his ban from boxing. Major wasn't a Black Mafia member, but he was like a tutor to the young criminals. He was a narcotic supplier, financier, money launderer, and he helped them develop other schemes. Major Coxon even ran a failed campaign for mayor of Camden, right across the Delaware from Philly. On November 3rd, 1972, Bo Baines' wife was walking to her car when she was confronted by 5 gunmen who demanded her purse. When she refused, one of the men pulled out a gun and shot her in the leg. She went back in her house and called the cops, and she and Bo went into hiding. That same day, Coxon was in court on charges of failing to pay his ex-wife $28,000 alimony when he was approached by Sam Christian and 3 other men. According to court testimony, Coxon was told to leave town and never return. Sam Christian told him that they had a hit out on him and Baines, and that he wanted him to take the $200,000 that Baines had paid to the Gambinos and go away. Just take the money and get lost. Major Coxon refused. He said he would go away, but not without his money. He told them that if they paid him the $200,000, he'd leave and take his family with him, but he'd need an additional $25,000 for the plane tickets. They wouldn't do it. After a week of lying low, Bo and his wife decided to return to Philly. On November 10th, Bo went to see his family at their home at 5224 Parish Street. As he was about to enter the house, he was shot multiple times by a high-powered rifle and died in the street. His wife and daughter rushed to the door, but the killers opened fire on them and they had to retreat. When they returned a few hours later, they found Bo's body covered with a sheet. His murder has never been solved. Major Coxon was also lying low. He left Philly and went to New York and moved into an apartment in Queens. For a while, the Black Mafia couldn't find him, but Coxon wanted revenge, and he wasn't one to back down. On May 6, 1973, Major Coxon was found shot to death in his apartment. He had been shot 6 times in the head, neck, and back. He was found in his living room, kneeling on the floor, with his hands on the couch. His body was surrounded by pictures of his 3 children. The murder weapon was a .45 caliber semi-automatic, and his body was staged in a way that made it look like a mob hit, like a mob execution. It was meant to send a message. In the years since, the Black Mafia's reign of terror has faded into the background, with only a few members still alive or free. But the legacy of violence and fear they left behind still echoes in the streets of Philadelphia. So that's the story of Sam Christian and the Philly Black Mafia, one of the most brutal and ruthless criminal organizations in history. If you want to hear more about the Black Mafia, let me know. An episode on them in the future. It's been Murdersota TV. Keep your curiosity alive. Until next time, stay safe, subscribe us, and share this video with others.